Welcome to the Asclepion. I'm Kevin McKeag.
And I'm Luke Strom.
Our podcast dives into the deep questions of life. How do we find love, discover our true selves, and live out our dreams in this wild, weird world? We're going to take you on a journey of philosophical inquiry, spiritual adventure.
Okay. Just imagine you're like sitting around a campfire with the homies and you all start opening up and talking about real shit. That's pretty much what we're going to do here.
Yeah, or it's what I said.
Okay, look, all you need to know is that we have no idea what we're doing.
Welcome
to the Asclepion.
Asclepion.
That's what I said. In this episode, we want to talk about the inner voice, the inner monologue, the whole stream of thoughts that come through people's heads on a daily basis, and how powerful those are, and how you can get a hold of them, how you can bring awareness to them, and how you can actually start to change them for the better, and see how it can change really your whole life, your whole attitude, things that you pursue in life, pretty much everything. I really believe that the stream of thoughts that come through your head constantly are the bedrock for how you feel throughout the day, how you approach other people, how you treat yourself. And I really think it can hinder or really propel you towards your goals and dreams. There's a quote that I want to use to start this episode. I think it sums it up really nicely. And it's from John Milton. And I'm sort of paraphrasing, but it goes, "The mind is its own place. It can make heaven out of hell and hell out of heaven." And I think that pretty much sums up what we'd like to talk about on this episode here. So,
Well, hell yeah. That's a beautiful quote.
yeah, that's from Paradise Lost.
Well, maybe I'll just riff off that for a minute and then pass it back to you.
Sure.
Recently I've been seeing the play of thoughts as this object of awareness, and in meditation, the idea is to gain distance from your thoughts, your perspective, your emotions, your physical sensations, and to create a depersonalization of the things that you're normally identified with. Now, that can be a good or a bad thing. Like you can go into being too depersonal, where it becomes pathological, or you can have a healthy distance from yourself so that you're no longer identifying with your sensations, emotions, and thoughts. There, you have the power to create more heavenly or blissful experiences because you're no longer identified with thoughts as a mediating factor for your experience. And I think that's a little bit of what you're kind of hinting at here with that quote. And would you fill us in on what that quote brings up for you, or want to riff off a little bit what I said?
Yeah, let me add a little button to what you're saying, but
Great.
I also read something recently that talked about this exact question of how much awareness of yourself should you really have. Self-awareness is essential and beautiful, but if you're too hyper-focused on yourself, if you're too inwardly focused all the time, you can create hell out of heaven. I think that happens so commonly. And I think what happens is it's like a Jenga tower. You're building this scaffolding of thoughts, and you have thoughts about thoughts about thoughts, and it just all collapses. And it's the same with progress in human civilization, I think, where there's progress that creates a positive result, and then someone comes back later and tries to change something that was already working. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So you have these thoughts that are working in your head, and then sometime later you rethink it and you dismantle what was already something that was already really working for you. And the mind is a complex, shadowy place, so it's not hard to do that. But I think that really makes sense. I think we can start off by saying maintaining a balance of looking inward, really assessing yourself and your thoughts is really crucial. But also going too far and doing that too much can cause you to overthink, and it can cause you to actually maybe even create negative thinking cycles.
Yeah.
I think that's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah, certainly. And I also see it as a breakdown of different strata of one's being, right? So you have your physical layer. And if something's wrong in your biochemistry, like you have a virus that's, attacking your cells and DNA and replicating itself and making you sick, you like, how fucking philosophical do you want to be when you're, laid up in your bedroom and vomiting, right? Like, so your physiology has to be healthy, and that's why it's so important to have foundations of sleep and nutrition and exercise and supplements if you need supplements, and et cetera. Positive relationships in your life, and enough oxytocin flowing from physical touch and all of that stuff. Then you have your emotional layer of wanting to make sure that you're emotionally sound, and that looks differently for different people, and that's not a thought exactly. That's an actual level of your being that has its own logic or illogic. I mean, I think a more critical person would look at somebody who's more emotional and be like, well, you're crazy. But I don't think that's necessarily true. I think the emotions are just an incredibly important part of someone's systemal matrix that need to be honored. For example, I sat down in meditation today. Sometimes it's bliss, sometimes it's pain, sometimes it's resistance. Today, it was tears, like there's just grief upwelling that has no reason exactly for being, but just needs to be honored with the space. And so I
Yeah.
want to sort of normalize that. And then you have the thinking layer. And certainly, yeah, your thoughts, your own thoughts and self perception can bring you down. It's not everything, but it's a really important layer. So I want to just pass it back to you.
Yeah, no, that's great, man. Thanks. First of all those other areas of building a solid, healthy lifestyle, like nutrition, working out, meditating, we're going to talk about all that stuff in future episodes, and they'll kind of interweave into the topics we cover today a little bit, but we got you guys covered for those other topics later because we're
Yeah.
nerds about all that stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
second, there's something that happens in and of itself that creates anxiety or maybe depression is thinking that your thoughts or feelings are wrong. So when you happen to be feeling sad, you think, I shouldn't be feeling sad. Why am I feeling depressed? This is dumb. I should be up and doing this and that. I should be happy. But for whatever reason, you're not. And like you saying, normalizing this process of sitting with yourself and recognizing what you're feeling and accepting it, that's huge. I mean, that's such an anti-Western psychology mindset.
Yeah.
And
Well, thankfully that's changing in psychology and academia, but I agree. There is that tendency to be more on the logical side and to bypass emotions in the name of productivity. I think you're
mhm,
completely right about that.
yeah. Well, I would love to, whoever's listening to this, I would love to dismantle that thinking in our
Oh yeah.
culture. I would love to just say, just fight back against that. Take back ownership of your mind and your feelings. And in this episode, I really want to get into how you can do that. That's, I think, the crux of what we'd like to offer to our beloved listeners.
Yeah, I have 3 steps. Number 1, meditation. Number 2, meditation. Number 3, meditation.
Ooh.
And the reason I'm saying that is because I think meditation is the ultimate decentering practice for getting outside of yourself and being able to have enough space from your typical modus operandi to rewire, regroove, and reorient towards reality as the wider space instead of the limit itself.
Yeah,
So I'm being slightly facetious. Of course, there's other ways to deconstruct the nonsense inherited beliefs that keep you limited. But meditation is an epic way to do it as well.
great. Definitely. So this is this that quote that I mentioned earlier from good old Johnny Milton. This is the side of the coin that's making heaven out of hell. So this hell can come from things that are actually happening in your life. Like there could be a personal tragedy. You could be ruminating on climate change, tons of things out there that are actually happening. But then
Right.
there's another part of this hell that exists that's it's not necessarily made up, but and this is the canonical quote from Stoicism is it's not what happens to you, it's what you think about what happens to you.
Mm.
And so it's really tied into this Milton quote about heaven and hell in your mind. So meditating is one of the surest ways to help creating this heaven out of hell or just maintaining a nice balance in your mind. So maybe in another future episode, we're definitely going to get more into meditating. But since we're on that topic, could you give us just like a minute little bite size? How can someone who's never really meditated before, what would be the easiest way for them to just take 15, 20 minutes out of their day and start to just reach into that practice? What would you recommend for someone new to it?
Okay, that was really well stated because it is a reaching in practice. It's about getting more familiar with the contours of your own experience in the laboratory, the parameters of which you set by sitting on a cushion for however long you choose to do so. So this is like you become the experiment, your little cushion becomes the laboratory, and then you reach in and start noticing your habits of mind, habits of heart, habits of body, restlessness, whether, it's a hot restlessness, you want to jump up and run away, or you're just bored and averse to being here in the now. Really simple. You sit, create an upright spine, feel your shoulders back, maybe close your eyes, take a few deep rounds of breath, and then start noticing your experience. And you breathe into that, and it becomes a whole realm in and of itself. There's a whole interior existence of you that's as rich and populated as your external world. And in doing so, you start noticing where you're being neurotic or fixating. You notice these negative habits of mind, and you can work with them to fill up the places in you that are running out of scarcity or fear or lack of love or whatever it is that's causing some of the root neurotic behavior. And that has a ripple effect outward to all your relationships and everything in your life.
Okay, cool. Thank
So
you.
no big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice though, because the main act that you pointed out is noticing. I think a lot of people who haven't done a lot of meditating or any think that it's this really vast, you have to read a bunch of books to learn how to do it. You gotta go to some Zen temple in, the J Japan countryside or something.
Yeah.
I think it sounds very mysterious or involved and it can be, of course, but
Right.
I
Esoteric.
yeah, again, another thing I want to do on this podcast, or at least this episode, is provide real practical tools that anyone can use. And so, what you just described as a sort of intro level to meditation is great because it's really just clearing a space, go into your room, put your cell phone, all that stuff in another room,
Mhm.
make sure it's quiet and relaxed and then you close your eyes. You don't have to get into the lotus position if that's uncomfortable. I still can't do it without cracking my kneecaps, but yeah, it's slowing down. This is what we're talking about, all that mental chatter. You're thinking about the text you have to send your mom. You're thinking about plans for later tonight. thinking about troubles at work, anything, you slowing all that down and getting to as close as you can to the core of your mind and your being, and remembering, hey, this is really me. This is, you could call it the inner child, you could call it your true self, but getting back to that square one of what you know you are and just feeling that. And it doesn't have to be this, radical path to enlightenment. It can be, and hopefully for everyone it will be eventually, but this first step is the biggest thing. I think this first step in starting meditation is the biggest one, and that will lead to so much more self-awareness and calming this mental chatter. There's a line from I think it's Phantom Menace in Star Wars where Anakin is with Qui-Gon and he's all like, "What? I'm gonna be a Jedi? Like what the hell? What's going on? Like I don't even know who you guys are, you know?" And asking all these questions, and Qui-Gon's basically like, "Don't worry, you'll learn to quiet your mind." And I remember hearing that as a kid and I was like, "What? Like what does that mean, you know?" But I think that can be done with this 10 to 15 minute little breather, a conscious breather. But yeah, I hope that summarizes what you're saying. But
Yeah, beautifully put. And the Star Wars theme song just started running through my mind. So
nice.
my mind went from quiet to filled with soundtracks by John Williams. So
Oh yeah.
I think that's a good step. I think that's part of the path towards becoming a Jedi.
And when you breathe during meditation, you have to make the Darth Vader sound too. Another thing. Yeah. Cool. Well, what I wanted to do is talk about making heaven out of hell and then talk
Yeah,
about making hell out of heaven. Or
yeah, okay.
actually, maybe we should do the other way, because
Well, I'm an expert at making hell out of heaven, so let's talk
oh,
about
me
that.
too. Me too. Okay, okay. So meditation is one way to start making heaven in your mind, but
Yeah,
let's focus on the making hell out of heaven because I think that is a
yeah.
lot more common. And I've been looking at a few points of research as far as what that hell is, where it comes from, and then also a few ways that you can try to help pull yourself out of that.
Oh yeah, what do you think?
Well, there's a term called the negativity bias that
Hmm.
we all have, and to varying degrees per person, per culture. It's basically an evolutionary tendency to focus and react more strongly to negative forces in life, negative thoughts, negative things that happen to you. And psychologists think that it's basically it's hardwired into us as a protective mechanism.
Hmm.
Those who, thousands of years ago had a stronger response to negative stimuli were able to survive. They were more likely to survive because they had more protective, defensive reactions in the wild. And we still have those instincts in us. And this is, I think, basically what the negativity bias is. And there's also a fact I want to point out that a perceived threat or danger in the mind, your stress response is pretty much exactly the same as if that danger or threat were actually happening to you. So,
Right.
or when watching a movie where someone's getting chased by a grizzly bear, we feel just about if we're engaged with the movie, we're just about as stressed out as if there actually was a grizzly bear chasing us in the woods. And that's why we enjoy movies. We like that response, but this making hell out of heaven is a chronic pattern of focusing on the negative thoughts, and they could be. Of course, I do want to say that of course most people or maybe everybody has genuine negativity in their life. We're all suffering from anxiety about climate change and social media mental health crisis in the youth, like just all that stuff. We don't need to get into that now, but we're all feeling that. And it's very real to be able to say, Like we're not crazy for feeling stressed out about the state of the world. But it happens so often where something small in your life happens and you make it a much bigger deal than it actually is.
Yeah, I mean, I've got emails in my inbox right now that feel like leopards in nature, you know. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
Yeah.
And I love what you just said. It was really beautiful put. I also want to add this that, I was talking about these integrated strata of the system of the self earlier, and you might not necessarily think stress response. And some of us are in such chronic states of fight or flight that it's not thoughts exactly that are creating that experience, but the experience that is creating the thoughts. And so I just want to kind of bookmark that because there's the physical, the emotional, the mental, possibly the subtle level of the soul, the spiritual, the oneness current. There's all these layers interpenetrating, kind of like a Fabergé egg. And you want to make sure that you're not um, indicating causation with any one single layer, but see it as a network, a system, right? That's much more helpful, for example, if you're sitting in meditation and you're trying to think good thoughts so that you can feel relaxed, even though your body has been completely hijacked by the stress response because you're in a moldy building or something like that. I had to struggle with that for many years. So there's no amount of positive thinking that's going to revert you to a perfectly healthy state if your um, body is getting loaded with toxins from your
Sure.
environment. Although sometimes it can help kind of mitigate the effect.
For sure.
Um, and yeah, what you just said was a really cogent analysis of the negativity bias. It's like our minds are built to be Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive experiences.
Hmm.
And that's an evolutionary function. That's a
Yeah.
part of the software, not a glitch. What's the saying?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think also on that note, when some people hear that, they think, oh, well, I'm just screwed then. Like, if it's part of my DNA, how can I possibly, that's my fate. I'm always going to be stressed about but actually, it can strike you as, oh, ha ha, like now I know that's just like a funny part of being a human. Like, I don't have to freak out about this stuff, that's not actually happening to me. I think I mean, to me, I always laugh when I learn about facts like that about humans, where I'm like, oh wow, like I've been feeling this or thinking about this, and it was perplexing or even stressful, but now I know it's just like a completely normal thing, and that feels good because it makes you look at the human race as this collective group who we're all sharing so much of the same experience inside of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah. There's at least a little bit of commisery that arises from recognizing how neurotic you are yourself and knowing that other people are equally so, if not more, right? That helps with the practice of compassion and empathy because then anytime you perceive somebody as wronging you with the help of meditation and a little bit of self-reflection, you can recognize your inherent defense mechanisms and try to scout out or sniff out if they're actually getting in the way of you having genuine connection. And then recognize that wherever the person is that may have wronged you, they might just be doing the best that they can.
That's a higher level of compassion that it would be wonderful if we all could get there for sure.
Yeah.
But
Talk
yeah, I
about making heaven out of hell.
for sure. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more of this hellishness. Uh
Hellishness.
what do you
Hellaciousness.
let's talk about ourselves for a second, okay? What are some of the main ways that you tend to make
My
hell out
favorite
of heaven?
topic.
Yeah. Let's hear it, man.
Me?
What
Me?
what are some of the most common ways that you have or still do, make a hell out of heaven in your mind?
tell stories about other people's motivations that might indicate that they're hostile to me based on behavior that appears hostile, but actually is coming from a place of care.
Hmm. Do you have an example that won't reveal any?
Fuck. Uh, Recently, someone who shall not be named approached me, or I approached them and called them out. I said, "Hey, you've been really standoffish and rude to me over the past few months. What gives?" And this person and I sat down and talked, and this person told me that he was concerned about my life path and saw things that I was doing or not doing, inactivity that he himself had been through years before he started to gain a measure of success through his business endeavors. Revealed that he knew he was projecting on me and yet genuinely felt like I could be doing better. So there was real feedback that was veiled inside what can only be described as extreme emotional hostility that was definitely affecting me negatively. And I was picking up on that actually was kind of personal and was a projection of his upon me and actually had actionable and real feedback for me to take and start using in my life.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
that's an example.
But are you saying that
I had to
you,
word that very carefully.
yeah. No, that was good. It makes sense. Sorry that happened, but are you saying that before you guys talked that you were kind of creating these stories or narratives in your head about why they were acting strange to you? Is that what you
uh,
mean?
uh, yes, trying to do my best to explain away behavior or give him the benefit of the doubt. I think a few years ago it would have been war because I'm kind of like that and sort of reactive and sort of like get caught into aggression or conflict, something like that. Like it's really easy for me to go there. So I've done a lot of work to create more peace in myself so that I'm not consistently hooked into situations like that. But it takes a lot of doing. I think the virtue there is magnanimity, the
Mm,
ability to spontaneously forgive. And that's quite a practice, man. I mean, that's quite a virtue to aspire to because it means that even if you think somebody is threatening you, and we talked about that negativity bias and those survival threat signalers in the brain earlier, even if your alarm bells are going off, it means give somebody the benefit of the doubt, take a breath, wait a little while before drawing your conclusions, and then set healthy boundaries for the sake of both parties, all parties, for the sake of the relationship, for the sake of your own future self, right? That non reactivity can come from meditation, can come from self reflection, or you just want to be good to the people around you without being a doormat, right? And that's why it's important to be non reactive, but also to set really healthy, clear boundaries as much as you can.
Do you need space from your partner? Do people in general just kind of freak you out? Wouldn't it be great to repel everyone around you once in a while? Now you can with Solo Spray. Solo Spray is alone time in a bottle. We offer a variety of handcrafted scents like dog breath, slow roasted hair, and blue meat. Feeling overwhelmed at a party? Step into the bathroom and throw on a dash of Solo Spray. You'll never have to fake an excuse to leave early or sneak down the fire escape again. Keep others at bay with Solo Spray. I want to have as many, people as possible be able to relate to this making hell out of heaven. I think that most people have their own version of that, but I feel like my biggest version of doing that, I guess you could call it self-doubt. Even when things are going well, I have a tendency to feel, oh, it's not enough. success should already have happened. Why aren't you as good as this other person? I compare myself to other people, and I just question like, is it, am I ever gonna succeed? Are my dreams ever gonna come true? All that type of stuff. And it's a huge struggle because I've known for years that the best thing that I can do is just to have faith. And there is no certainty that you're going to succeed and your dreams are going to come true and all of that. But there's no
Yeah.
point in doubting yourself and having these crippling thoughts. And even though I've brought a lot of awareness to it, I still struggle with it. It's still at least a few times a week, a few days a week, usually it comes up. Even when something good happens, I start to worry about it. Oh, maybe I got a publication in a magazine, but maybe they'll rescind it or something. Why haven't they emailed me yet about something, all of that silly stuff. But for me, it's deeper than just worrying about that. I guess it's sort of not feeling like I'm totally validated to myself. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel worthy. I have not come to fruition yet to myself. Then when I turn it back and try to be grateful for what I have, I look around and I look at my beautiful apartment that I have. It's small, but I have this amazing backyard with a bunch of plants, and I live in Los Angeles and I live in a very quiet area where I can sleep well, but I can also walk to Sunset Boulevard and have all this really cool stuff to do. I have an unbelievable life. When I talk to certain people who live, elsewhere, they're just shocked to hear the stuff that I do. And I'm like, wait, not everyone gets to live this way? Like, I forget, and again, it's this negativity bias. But I just wanted to say that because this is really important to me. It's something that I'm currently still working on, and I probably always will have to work on it at some level. But that's why we're talking about this meditation and awareness, where through your whole life, you're going to have these thoughts or feelings come up, and you're going to have a way of addressing them in the moment. You don't, it's how many times has it happened to you where you're walking to meet somebody and all of a sudden this shitty thought comes to your mind like, oh, this isn't going to go well, or oh, like they're probably not that excited to see me, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. It can
Yeah.
become a self-fulfilling prophecy,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Right. Then it can sort of tank your state and actually preclude you from the possibility that might have actually been there.
totally. Yeah, good point. And I want to talk about that too. I really think that the vast majority of the bad days and the bad moods that we have can be circumvented. They can be addressed. And
Mm.
through time, they can really be almost erased. At least the voice in your head can be quieted way down so that it's so much more manageable. And then you can say, oh, that's just that thought that I have. Ha ha. Like, I don't believe that. I don't accept that. That's not me. I accept these other things that I know are true about myself, that I
Yeah.
am working hard. I do
Yeah.
have really noble goals. I do really want to help people or whatever.
And
Aligning
I
yourself.
deserve to be alive, God damn it.
Yeah, I
I
deserve to be.
deserve to give my gifts to the world
Hmm.
and to be received. Yeah, dude, I have to give myself pep talks all the time because I'm a solopreneur, so I'm growing my practice by myself and it's so easy to get discouraged.
Hmm.
It's all like any mistake that I make, even if I don't know that I'm making it, it's mine to handle. And so any failures that I come across or dead ends that I hit, it's all me. That's
Yeah.
hard but true. And it's a similar thing where I feel like the positive self-talk is a vital, vital step, not for ensuring success, but just for encouraging yourself when nobody else is, you know?
Yeah. So I want to talk more about that in a second, but just to finish up this darkness,
Yes.
Dante's Inferno,
Yes, yes.
um,
My bad. I totally
oh no,
interjected.
no, you're good. You're good. I don't need to keep wallowing in the mire, as the Doors said.
No
But
time for
it's,
that.
yeah, yeah. Thanks, dude. That was good. It's so funny how people, and me included, you just start to think like, oh, this is my lot. These thoughts, it's just my life. I just have to deal with it. Like that's how it is. No, well,
Mm,
no, it doesn't have to be that way. You don't have to continually worry about such and such. You don't have to limit yourself. You have the power to take back the reins over your own mind. It's your mind. And it's hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of looking at yourself in the mirror, metaphorically speaking, or
mm.
maybe literally. But that's the point, is like if you really want to change these thoughts and therefore by extension your life, you've got to look at what's going on. And shying away from it is never going to work. It'll never work.
Mm,
And I kind of grew up in a culture that does that. We kind of shy away from conflict. We kind of shy away
mm,
from too much depth.
mm,
And that's still something that I'm kind of realizing that I have in me. It's culturally ingrained in a way.
mm,
And I know that that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for most people.
mm.
And I kind of go back and I talk to my family about things. I'm like, well, hey, I can tell you're struggling with this pattern in your life. Like, do you want to talk about it? And like, can I tell you what I see? Stuff like that.
No.
No, yeah. No, it's just kind of this what?
Yeah.
Right? And
Yeah.
I don't want to like impose my thoughts on them, but I'm also like, I see what's going on, at least to an extent, and I
Hmm.
want to help you. I want to help you shed light on this
Yeah.
so that you can feel better about it.
Yeah. There's a
And
similar thing that happens in my culture in the Northeast where people are not averse to conflict. People are very direct in the Northeast. They'll just tell you what they think. It's
Mhm,
extremely refreshing if you're not from there, but can be very shocking or abrasive. But we're a little bit depth averse and
mhm,
stoic, and nobody really wants to open up and voice their feelings because it's seen as weakness, right? So a lot of people back there are struggling so much, are in so much pain and don't feel that they can talk about it because they're being strong for everybody else.
yeah,
So that's I don't know if it's hell, but that's unresolved pain because if you don't let the light shine on it, then it never gets
yeah.
to breathe, you know. Yeah,
And
and
so,
well, if you close the door to your own pain, then you also close the door to heaven, I think.
mm, mm,
Yeah, and if you're willing to feel things fully so that you can cathart them, sometimes there's a whole other life, a whole other realm on the other side.
okay, I'm gonna say that again. So if you're unwilling to look at your pain, then you're not gonna be able to feel heaven.
Yeah.
It's basically yeah, that's good. That's a good way of looking at it. So maybe this is a good point where we can switch over to the heaven stuff.
Okay.
Are you cool? Anything else you wanted to say on the other side?
I'm cool, baby. I'm
All
cool.
right.
Let's shift over. I'm ready.
So we talked a lot about bringing awareness, shedding light on your thoughts in general, whether they're negative, whether they feel shitty, or whether they're kind of neutral, or if they're good. It's just as important to be aware of your positive thoughts too.
Yeah.
But this is a sort of transition point. You bring awareness to what's going on, your inner voice. What are you telling yourself? You start saying, okay, well, I'm not just caught in this mouse wheel of uncontrollable thoughts anymore. I'm stopping the wheel and then I'm looking at what's there.
Mhm.
And some of it's ugly, some of it's kind of scattered, mixed, whatever, but
Mm.
I'm going to look at it.
Hmm.
So that's the first step. I think we both agree here. What then? What happens when you start to see, oh wow, this is what's going on behind the curtain of my mind, of me? What are you looking at and how do you kind of make sense of it?
I think you start to get a feeling for what habitual thoughts and beliefs create suffering in your life for yourself and others, and which habitual thoughts and beliefs actually open up doorways and create more positivity and progress in your life, whether that's emotional, mental, spiritual, or financial, livelihood related. And as long as you're parsing through those and noticing them, then in the moment when there's a choice, you can actually choose instead of being directed by habitual thoughts that lead you towards hell rather than heaven. What do you
So
think?
let's say you recognize a negative thought pattern. You have a
Mhm.
lot of self-doubt. Let's say let's say you're some kind of artist. You really want to be a musician. You have horrible stage fright.
Don't know
You
anyone
know
like
you're
that.
good. Yeah. That's so rare and dumb, dude. Let's say you know you love music. Like there's nothing that you want to do more than make music and perform for people. And you know you've got some talent. You've worked hard to get good at guitar or whatever.
Yeah,
But you
but
just
doubt.
dread. You dread going on stage. You dread even talking about it to people. You don't even like to tell people you're a musician because you're afraid of being judged. You're afraid of failure, all that stuff. And then you catch that pattern. Oh, damn, like that's something I really have to sit with. I have to kind of sort that out.
Yeah.
Then what?
You have to
Child.
challenge your beliefs. You have to challenge your beliefs in a way that feels safe enough that your nervous system can reset.
Okay.
Step three, the
Yeah, yeah.
challenge.
So, like, let's think of it as a tracing your steps, retracing your steps. You, throughout your life, you took a path happened to you, whatever you want to say, to where now you have this thinking pattern. I tend to look at it as retracing my steps. How did I get here? How did this thinking pattern evolve into being now? Did it start when I was 3 years old? Was it something my parents did to me? Was it something that I started telling myself at a young age, uh, that just became a pattern, a habit? You're saying questioning these beliefs. How do you do that?
Well, you have to uncover them first, and that's not easy because there are biases that you hold that have operated unconsciously your entire life that have been formed through experience that you had that might be tied to trauma, that might be tied to your culture, that might be tied to the foundation of everything that you believe. So, like picking apart the stitching on the fabric of your belief systems is like you have to be really careful about it because you don't want to undo the fabric too much, right?
Mm.
But there are some beliefs that aren't serving you, right? If you start meditating and self reflecting, you'll probably realize that based on physiology, um, genetics, upbringing, personal experiences. Maybe you got bullied in school or something like that. And then you have a set of beliefs about how you can and can't express yourself. Okay. So then if you turn towards those and start to understand it, then you can start testing those beliefs in real life. If you go out in public, can I express myself and not be shoved around and put down? Are there people in my life where that's actually permissible or even desired from me to express? You start creating little experiments for yourself. And then suddenly, oh, actually, it's allowed for me to be loud, okay,
Mhm.
in these places. And then you start having corrective experiences that change the belief in real life. So instead of it just being a thought, it's actually a more deeply trenchant repatterning.
I love that because it's combining the mental and the sort of physical act where you're saying, I've identified this pattern, this negative feeling pattern that I want to change. And I think I understand where it comes from, but I'm going to go try to change it. I'm going to test it out in real life. And by doing that, not only are you reducing the anxiety or depression that comes from this thought pattern, but you're literally changing your life. So this musician who's afraid of performing, just go up on stage, dude. Just see what happens. Yeah, is someone going to
Yeah.
throw a tomahawk at your face when you
Yeah.
get up? No, they're not.
Or go out at a place where you can play publicly where nobody's around and there's almost no um threat of you being, I don't know, publicly humiliated or whatever. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to, like, it takes courage if you're afraid of elevators to go into an elevator. So you do an exposure therapy. You go within 20 feet of an elevator and then you go within 10 feet and you create safety and you have somebody there with you, and then you
Yeah.
repattern your beliefs. Oh, elevators actually aren't so scary. Maybe I could go up one floor, you know? Um, that's the idea for sure. I mean, you, my friend, you are a very bold person. So you're like, oh, I'm afraid of performing, so I'll just go and play in front of 30 people. Like that's not going to work for everyone, but yeah,
I think Emerson said, always do what you're afraid to do. And it's like, what is this fear? This fear comes from a very important place. It's telling you something. It's telling you this matters to you. This is something that you really do want to do. And because it matters, you don't want to mess it up. You don't want to fail. But in pursuing that and not being afraid to suck, you will get somewhere. You will. And that could be performing, that could even with writing. I am such a crazy perfectionist, dude. And this is like I'm like just now learning to get over it. And I've been so much more productive. It's nuts. I still have these voices in my head of like, oh, that you got to change that. That's not good enough. Whatever. But I'm just like, nope, just keep going. Just
yeah,
keep going. Um, I'm gonna just keep throwing tidbits out here. But Ray Bradbury, the great sci-fi writer, said that he had this sign at his desk that says, "Don't think." And he said, when you're writing, you're not thinking.
yeah,
That's later. Thinking is supposed to be a corrective
yep,
act.
yep,
And he's like, living is not thinking. Living is living. But anyway, yeah, for me, this perfectionism is a fear of failure, a fear of being not good enough. It's all rooted to the same thing. And so when I let that go and give myself permission to just go, to just roll, all this stuff comes out. I'm like, oh my God, not
to
only,
flow.
yeah, not only do I feel more open, but it's good, dude. And then I look, I'm like, oh my God, but by not actually worrying about how good it is, it's actually way better. It's crazy.
100%.
And
Yeah.
so, yeah, that's like an actual
There's nothing to
practice.
writing. There's nothing to writing. You sit at the typewriter and bleed, right?
Hemingway, right?
Flow, bro. You
Hello, bro.
go, you roll, you flow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Word to that, dude. I've been in situations athletically where if I thought too much, I would have gotten seriously injured. And you
yeah,
and I are like that when we're out in the mountain, if we're skiing, I'm snowboarding, we're flying. There's no time to think. You have to be embodied, you have to be fully present. And the adrenaline is helping you do that. And it's magic.
totally. Yeah, dude. Well, you can do this meditating. You can reflect on your thoughts. That's all mentalizing, which is very powerful, very essential, great. But putting these things into practice in your life, it's not that it's more powerful, but that's what solidifies it. I do so much reflecting and thinking, and I'm like, oh wow, like this is a epiphany, cool. Like I that makes me feel good. But then a few days later, I forget it because I didn't put it into practice, or I only put it in practice for a day. So come up with a way. to write these things down. That's what I do. Write
Mm.
down all of these realizations and journaling.
Mm.
It's such a basic, obvious thing, but it's a rare thing now. But that can help to not only put these positive things into action in your life, but by getting that feeling of, oh my God, I actually can do this, other negative feelings go away on their own too. I
Mm.
remember when I first moved to LA, didn't know a soul. I wanted to do some comedy stuff and I started taking improv classes. Didn't know a thing about improv or comedic performance. And the first class I took, I was extremely hit and miss, mostly miss. Like in class, like I was just stumbling, but I was also learning a lot. But I was, critiquing myself and analyzing, which is the opposite of what you're supposed to do in improv. Then we had a sort of class show. There was maybe 50 people at the show somehow. And they were just like, all right, you guys are performing for all these strangers.
Mm.
And to be totally honest, like I crushed it. And not only was I in the flow state, but after that, like people in my class like looked at me like, damn, dude, like where was that? Or and I was like, dude, I know that that was in me the whole time, but I was blocking it. I was too afraid. I was too perfectionistic,
Mm.
but I felt so good for having let that go, for getting that out of me.
Yeah.
I seriously felt supercharged for like a week. Like I felt like the most famous, successful person in the world for like a week because I did that one half an hour show. It was crazy, but that meant so much to me as far as my development, facing fears, all that stuff. Just a little example.
I want more of that for you.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
More performing.
Yep. Yep.
I would love to do more of that. I really do.
I think what you were talking about, there was a natural percolation process of you engaging something you knew you had potential at and needing to analyze it and try and fail at it and work with your hands, like getting in there into the nitty gritty of what is humor and what is performance and whatnot. And the second you got on that stage, you let go. I think both are really, really important pieces,
Yeah,
you know?
definitely. I think this is so true for me, but I know a lot of others that you have something in you, but you're somehow so afraid that it's not really there. It's like, dude, if you know it's there, it's there. You just have to figure out how to let it out.
Yeah, that would be like the faith, I guess, or the foolishness, following your folly,
Hmm.
like willing to be God's fool. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I hear you saying too that perfectionism sometimes keeps us safe so that
Hmm.
we don't attempt to express our inherent genius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's some people call it the lizard brain, but going back to this sort of evolutionary instincts that we've inherited, the negativity bias, that stuff. Yeah, our brain thinks it's keeping us safe by not doing what we actually want to do,
Mhm.
but that's all just in our head. There is no threat. I mean, of course, like if you get laughed off a stage, that sucks.
Yeah.
But anyone who's become good at anything has been laughed at. They've been
Yep.
rejected so hard,
Eminem,
so hard. Yeah.
chewed up and spit out and booed off stage.
Yeah, man. Mom spaghetti. Um, well, what we're focusing on, an artistic, really ambitious sort of career or path, but
Sure.
even just in your daily life,
Mm.
being able to get around your social anxiety, being able to go to the farmer's market or a concert and just let yourself dance, let yourself say hi to strangers. That's
Yeah.
a big thing for a lot of people.
Hmm.
And it feels so good. Like I just moved to this new neighborhood 3 months ago, and I'm that dork who says hi to everyone now. But most of the people are super nice. They're like, "Oh my God, like this is some young kid being like a normal, nice neighbor."
Yeah.
And yeah, he doesn't have a very good fashion sense, but also like cool, you know? Um, it feels really good. Um, anyway, I'm repeating myself now, but
He's not one of us. Where are his yoga clothes? Where
sweating.
is his kale smoothie?
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Asclepion. We hope you enjoyed the show and that you feel uplifted, empowered.
Yeah, just make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on X and all that shit, all right?
Farewell, friends.